Good afternoon. Thank you, Nicole, and everything that you've done for this session. I really appreciate it. On behalf of myself and the staff of the Contract Monitoring Division, I want to thank all of you for attending the Small Business Summit, and in particular this session. As Nicole mentioned, CMD is responsible for enforcing both Chapter 14B, which is the LBE program, but also the Equal Benefits Ordinance, Chapter 12B. 12B is also critical in terms of all vendors that are interested in doing business with the city. I also want to highlight the panelists and the departments that they represent, as they have been great colleagues I've personally known them for many years, and I consider them friends. And they have been great partners in finding ways to provide opportunities for our local small businesses to compete and participate on our city departments' projects. As these are large departments, all of them have a wide variety of contracting opportunities covering many different disciplines. And I also want to personally thank all of them, both in the prior session and in this session, for their willingness to serve as panelists today. And with that, I will toss it back to Nicole so that we can get to our partners.
Thanks so much, Romulus, for your opening remarks. And so now we're going to get into the meat of the opportunities showcase. The way that we're going to do this is we have actually 6 departments that are here. They're each going to give a brief presentation, and they will focus on the opportunities to do business with their departments and how small businesses can find these opportunities. And then at the end, we will regroup and do Q&A with all of our speakers. And so to start us off this afternoon, let's hear from Stephanie Tang, who is the Procurement and Contracts Manager with the Port of San Francisco. Take it away, Stephanie.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you. My name is Stephanie Tang, and I am the Contracts and Procurement Manager with the Port of San Francisco, as Nicole mentioned. I also have my colleague here with me, Tiffany Tatum, and she's the Senior Community Development Specialist who works with small businesses, and she will also be with me for answering your questions about the port. I'm delighted to be the first speaker, and I look forward to your questions. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about who is the port and what do we do. So the Port of San Francisco manages the waterfront, and this slide shows you the mission and vision of our organization. Our mission is to ensure that the waterfront is a gateway to our wonderful city of San Francisco, and that the waterfront is environmentally and financially sustainable for maritime, recreation, and the other economic opportunities for both San Francisco, but also the region and the state overall. Next slide, please. This slide shows you the jurisdiction of the port. It's 7.5 miles of waterfront along the bay side. We run from Aquatic Park all the way to India Basin. The ferry building is our divide, with the odd numbered piers to the north of the ferry building and the even numbered piers to the south of the ferry building. And for folks who are new to understanding and working with the city, just to be clear, the port and SFO, San Francisco Airport, are separate departments. We love SFO, but we are each our own organization. Next slide, please. We are a department that does a lot of different types of work. So I want to describe to you what we do so you can envision how your small business or your business could work with us. We really have 3 major areas of our work. The first is, as a port, it's no surprise. We have many uses on the water and maritime. This includes cargo, shipping, cruises, ferry and excursion boats, fishing, crabbing, ship repair, boating, water activities. If you can figure out a way to connect your business to doing something on the water, we should talk. There are very likely opportunities with the port. Next slide, please. The port also has a commercial corridor. You can shop at our stores, you can dine at our restaurants, you can take a selfie at one of our art installations like the Cupid Span, or you can come work in one of the many office spaces. I think the photo there of the skateboarder is one of the great murals at Pier 90 with imagery of the Bayview. So we're a place that you can come, for entertainment as well as for business or for shopping. Next slide, please. And finally, the port is also a little bit like a small city department in that we also have all these wonderful open spaces. Aquatic Park for swimming, Crane Cove Park recently opened, and that's a 7-acre park with direct access to the waterfront from that side of the city, which is brand new. The takeaway here is that we have a lot of diverse uses on our lands. Next slide, please. I'll turn my attention to the 4 major areas of contracting and business opportunities. If you're looking to enter into a contract with the port, this could be for goods and services, through construction, through professional services, and through private development. When you're listening to some of the other departments, you'll probably hear the first 3, goods and services, construction, and professional services, but most likely a bunch of the other ones will not also include private development. So that's one of the distinctive elements of the port. Next slide, please. So what kind of goods do we buy? Well, first of all, as you probably heard from previous sessions, we of course are going to buy through all the requirements and channels that the city allows for procurement. So this means for purchases of items below $10,000, we can do a direct to purchase order through direct to purchase order, or for items above that, we have citywide term contracts. The items we are going to buy include the normal expected items of running an office: papers, pens, furniture. But then we also buy all the supplies needed for our extensive maintenance division for construction items: lumber, plumbing supplies, safety shoes, all the things you would need to maintain and do some construction. Next slide, please. For construction, I just want to mention that we do have a very large, over 100 people maintenance department with a bunch of the major trades. So a lot of our work is done by our maintenance department first. Then we also use the job order contract program at the Department of Public Works. And then finally, we also, of course, bid our own construction projects. Our construction projects include areas such as marine work, of course, construction management, excavation, hazardous materials. The next projects we expect to bid, and this is information not on the slide here, is we do have a maintenance dredging opportunity, which is the normal dredging that we do about every 5 years. And this is dredging of the bay to ensure safe passage of our vessels. We expect that to advertise later this year. We also have the Pier 70 Shipyard Uplands project, which is the off-haul remaining soil from Crane Cove Park, and also doing some other work there. That will also probably be bid out later this year. And early next year, we expect to bid out the Herons Head Shoreline Resilience Contract to make sure the Herons Head Park erosion is stopped. And finally, the largest contract is likely the Mission Bay Ferry Landing Phase 2, which is in the latter part of next year. Next slide, please. When you think of the port, you probably also may be thinking of our resilience program. This is a major initiative of the port, and we're on the forefront of planning for climate change and sea level rise. This slide is an overview of the types of projects that the port will embark on to strengthen, adapt, and envision a better port and San Francisco. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to the website sfportresilience.com. That's SF Port Resilience. And of course, there's also information about the resilience program directly on the port website under Waterfront Resilience Program. Next slide, please. For professional services, we have numerous multi-year as-needed contracts, and we do have occasional project-based contracts. The scopes of work on the left are for the areas where we typically have multiple as-needed contracts, and that's for environmental and planning, engineering and construction-related professional services, communication, hazardous waste and marine salvage, and finally, real estate economic services. Next slide, please. Finally, I want to mention some of our private developments. One of the more unusual aspects of the port are some of our private public projects, where a developer is working to build multi-building projects on port lands. I have 2 of the projects up here for you to look at. The Mission Rock project on the left, that is a joint project of the Giants Baseball Club and Tishman Spire. This is an active construction project for commercial, parks, and residential spaces, and it's located near the ball field. Pier 70 on the right is a project of Brookfield, and that's Pier 70, right near Crane Cove Park. And 2 of these spectacular architectural features are shown here. I believe building 15 is the kind of skeleton item, which they've taken off the side of a building, but they're still leaving it there. And that will help you greet you as you enter the neighborhood. Both of these projects have spent north of $450 million with over $83 million with contracts to local businesses. So these are opportunities that are not directly with the city, but are with some of the private developers. Next slide, please. So you might be asking yourself, great, I've heard this, I want to work with the port. How do I do that? First of all, use the QR code to complete the port opt-in interest form. Then we'll know what projects you're interested in. When we do outreach, we'll be able to have a way of connecting with you. Next, we also do a small business monthly office hours. This is a drop-in on the third Wednesday of the month from 4 to 5. You can contact us, we'll send you the link. And of course, if you can't make it, you can schedule a time and we can have another conversation. And of course, we have an open house, which we do every year. We did it virtually this year, where you get to hear about all the projects we're doing, meet some of our project managers, and do some good old-fashioned networking. And then finally, our advertisements. All of our departments are publishing our opportunities on SF City Partner, so you will see that there. And then the other link is the Port website, where we also post our opportunities. We also cross-post. Next slide, please. And if you want to talk to us, here's how you find both Tiffany and myself. And thank you for listening. And I look forward to the Q&A and having a two-way conversation. This concludes my presentation, and I'll throw things back to Nicole.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thanks so much for being with us too, Tiffany. Next, we're going to turn over to hear from Kimberly Wilson again today. Kimberly, as a reminder for anyone who's joining us just now, is the Manager of Economic and Community Development with the San Francisco International Airport. So go ahead, Kimberly, the stage is yours.
Hello, thank you all so very much. I am Kimberly Wilson, the Economic and Community Development Manager at SFO. I'm actually going to go off camera to make this a little bit easier for all of us, and we will go to the first slide. So just as the port, SFO has very unique features when doing business with us. The San Francisco International Airport, and any airport in general, will say that safety and security are our #1 priority. So, since that is the case, one can expect that there are security access elements that are unique to SFO. When contracting with SFO, if you have team members who will work at the airport, they may need to be badged. In that case, there are elements to consider. First, if there is a badge required, you'll have to pay for it. But not all areas of the airport require a badge. The areas that do require a badge are those areas beyond the security checkpoints, the airfield, and the terminals. A badge is not required in some areas, such as the rental car center. Well, how much is a badge? Well, a brand new badge is $90. To replace a damaged badge, $25. But if you're absent-minded and you lose it, it's $150. Again, safety and security are our #1 priority. Now, for those who are doing construction work or who will only need to be on site for a temporary time, there is what's called a temporary badge, and that's a 30-day badge, and one can have a temporary badge 4 times within a 12-month period. That badge is only $10. So all this badging, what does that mean? It means fingerprinting, and it is a federal requirement. Fingerprinting, again, is an additional cost. What do all of these things mean? They mean that the first day of actually working on site can be delayed for 1 to 3 weeks for the background check. So what does that mean? That's something unique to SFO, something to consider when you're submitting to work with us. Another thing to consider about SFO is parking and transportation. Well, if working at SFO, there are logistics, right? So there's BART. The BART station empties right into the international terminal. That's very helpful. However, your team members will need to consider the BART operating schedules. And then there's parking. Well, guess what? If you're an SFO badge holder, $7 a day. And for those who might be City and County of San Francisco employees, if you show your city badge, it's $7 a day. So the next to consider is if you're doing construction at SFO, you have to remember that there's limited space. So lay down and storage may be not what you're accustomed to. And if doing construction work, you may have to perform your work during graveyard shifts or any other kind of irregular hours just to make room for our passengers. Next slide, please. Now, if those truths about operating at SFO have not fully sobered you up, let's talk about another sobering truth. There are multiple contracting types at SFO. Most people know about the city's LBE program. That's the Local Business Enterprise Program that accompanies locally funded contracts. Well, SFO has two other types of contracts because we have two other types of funding. First, there's federal funds, FAA, AIP, Airport Improvement Program. Then there's private funds. So just as Stephanie talked about private development, we have semi-private mini development, and that's in the form of tenant improvement. Next slide, please. So to learn a little bit more about our DBE program, and this is very high level, not in the weeds, just to say, with our federally funded projects, there are small business goals assigned to them. In order to be a successful bid or proposal, the team must have a certain amount of small business team members on it. Well, what's considered a small business? This table tells you. So to be eligible for competitive federal funded construction and professional services contracts, a business must be small, as defined in this table. Again, you don't have to be certified to submit a bid or proposal, but being certified helps your bid or proposal meet the small business goals. Next slide, please. For concessions, there's a different reality. The solicitations may call for an ACDBE goal, or a rental car company may need services or supplies. And an ACDBE may provide those services or supplies. And guess what? Help that rental car company meet their ACDBE goals. Also, each concession is required to perform a minimum amount of tenant improvement work. That's our mini development. You can be part of that tenant improvement team. If you're interested in design, construction, being a supplier, or being a concessionaire, this slide is for you. Next slide, please. To access these opportunities, go to sfcitypartner.sfgov.org, or if you're interested in construction, you can go to sfconstruction.com or send an email to pcs@flysfo.com to get on their list and get information about upcoming construction projects. And to learn about upcoming opportunities, go to flysfo.com/business-at-sfo/upcoming-opportunities. Again, go to the FlySFO website and click on Doing Business with Us and click on Upcoming Opportunities, and you can find out about all the upcoming opportunities. Next slide, please. But for a little taste about what's current, it's listed on this slide. These are also listed in the SF City Partners website. We are searching for an enterprise facilities management system, casual dining and bar lease operator, laboratory analysis services, and background investigation services. Next slide, please. Also, there are several upcoming projects, several. I am not going to go through all of these that are on this slide. Just know that there are upcoming opportunities, professional services and construction. SFO is known for its construction. It is considered the airport that's always under construction. And that's something we take great pride in. Given the pandemic, our construction activities have slowed a bit, and we've put some of our major capital improvement programs on hold because those projects were funded by local funds. However, there are federal funds available for certain work, and the federal funds require that the funds are expended for only specific scopes. Those are the scopes that you see on this slide. Next slide, please. Well, I thank you so very much for your time. So excited to be here, willing and able and excited to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, concerns, or would like assistance.
All right, thank you so much, Kimberly. We appreciate your presentation and especially that tip about airport parking. We'll move on now to our next speaker, Sean Mcfadden. Sean is the Manager of Purchasing and Contract Administration with the San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department. Welcome, Sean.
Hello, how are you doing today? My name is Sean Mcfadden. I manage purchasing and contracts for the Recreation and Park Department. Next slide. So a little bit about Rec and Park. We manage over 225 sites and facilities throughout the city. So that includes parks, recreation centers, pools, golf courses, and other tourist destinations, including Golden Gate Park, Coit Tower, Harding Park, and the Marina. So Rec and Park is divided into a number of divisions. The Recreation Division has programs for both children and adults. Park maintenance includes neighborhood park maintenance, recreation centers, playgrounds. We have an urban forestry division as well. Then we have a structural maintenance division, which handles day-to-day routine maintenance for all of our facilities. And then we have a capital division that is responsible for design and construction public work projects. So all told, the department can range up to 1,000 employees when we're at peak season in the summertime. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, I manage purchasing and contracts, and my responsibility includes pretty much buying everything that our department could possibly need. So that would range with day-to-day materials and supplies, general services, which would include security for events, some special pest type work, or a variety of training services. We also buy vehicles and equipment. Each year we would purchase about $1 million worth of vehicles and equipment. We also, our capital division and our facility group would procure professional services and construction related services. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we do a lot of day-to-day purchasing. But a real big part of our operation is the professional services procurement. So we have two main groups that do that type of work. The first is the capital division. And generally, I mean, those are all moderately large design services projects related to construction, bigger construction projects. The capital division utilizes DPW's in-house staff for some of that work. We also utilize DPW administered architecture and engineering contracts. We also issue our own professional services contracts. They're generally smaller and not as complicated. We do those for the capital division as well as for our own operations project management division. So some examples of projects we're working on now: Portsmouth Square Design Services, Willy Woo Woo Wong, the Marina Yacht Harbor Design Services, and the Gene Friend Rec Center. The important thing to know about all of these professional services contracts is that they do usually include local business enterprise subcontracting goals, and that's a great opportunity for small businesses and LBEs to get involved with Rec and Parks projects. Next slide. So along with those kind of one-off professional service contracts, on occasion we'll need to put together professional service pools. So right now we have a as-needed historic resource evaluation pool, and we have an as-needed CM pool. Again, great opportunities for LBEs to get involved with Rec and Park projects is when we go out to establish a pool. Not only is it great for smaller primes, but it's also great for the LBE subcontracting goals that usually go along with them. Next slide. On the construction side, we have a really robust micro set-aside aspect of our program. A lot of our projects on the operations side of the house are smaller in size and really allow us to open up contracts to our LBEs through the micro set-aside program. So I'd say at least 50% of our projects, our construction contracts, are micro set-aside. Examples of those types of projects are, field irrigation, tree removal and pruning, paving, park paving projects, small park renovations, and various facility maintenance projects, including pump repair and boiler repair. We really try to work on the CMD micro set-aside contracts and keep those flowing as much as possible. Next slide. We also have, through our capital division, some large rec center, playground renovations, and rec center projects. Most of those are administered through DPW, but again, these are great opportunities for subcontracting, LBE subcontracting, as those all have subcontracting goals associated with them. So the one thing, regardless of whatever contracting pathway we're using, all of our solicitations are posted on the SF City Partner website. And as with everything, if anyone has any questions about the best way to get involved with Rec and Park procurement, you can certainly reach out to me. Next slide. So just in summary, our opportunities are pretty diverse for all of our facilities and all the types of activities we do. We probably issue about 2,000 to 2,500 purchase orders a year for general materials and supplies and general services. So we have a lot of opportunity. Again, if there's anything from seed to sand to balls, tennis nets, pickleball is the new thing. If you supply any of those types of things, get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do working with you. Again, construction micro set-aside projects are right in our wheelhouse with the threshold. So if you're a LBE contractor, be on the lookout through SF City Partner for those types of projects, and be on the lookout for our formal construction projects that have LBE subcontracting goals associated with them. Again, those projects all run from tree service, court resurfacing, landscape park renovation, and facilities maintenance. So that is it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sean. And it's great to hear that there's so many opportunities for micro LBEs, in particular at RPD. So our next speaker is Todd Sinegar, who is the Employment Unit Manager of the Contract Compliance Office at the SFMTA. Welcome, Todd.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon and happy Latinx Heritage Month to everyone. Once again, my name is Todd Sinegar and I work in the city's Municipal Transportation Agency, or MTA. More specifically, I work in the CCO, or Contract Compliance Office, where our job is to implement and monitor programs to ensure local and federal regulatory provisions are followed. I also manage the Workforce Development Unit in the CCO unit. Next slide, please. Our mission in MTA, as you see, is to connect San Francisco through a safe, equitable, and sustainable transportation system. So any work done, whether construction or professional services, will ultimately be for the purpose of accomplishing this mission. A mission, by the way, that it's under the purview, if you would, of the federal government, as is the case with the airport and with maritime or waterway transportation. Now, I was asked to fill in for someone else, and this is my first go round in this type of forum in the city, in the city. It's my understanding that the goal of this event is to support the local business community by making opportunities to do business with the city more understandable and accessible. My objective in this very short presentation may be a bit different from what you've heard so far, because I'm going to touch more on equal access considerations in addition to providing you with project information. I'll do this by, number one, sharing a bit of information about MTA's Contract Compliance Office and what we do. Number two, briefly describe some benefits of and process for your firm becoming a certified business under the LBE program, SBE program, and/or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE program. And number three, I'll share a list of some current upcoming SFMTA projects. First, just to give you a little insight into what we do. Again, this will be just a quick overview. If you want more details, I highly encourage you to do additional research to ensure that you are sufficiently informed. Next slide, please. Now, before getting into that, I want to share a fictional line from one of my favorite movies that I think applies to this summit. This is from a movie made a few years ago called Lincoln. During a particular scene in that movie, the President Lincoln character spoke about the benefits and limitations of a compass. He said this, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit. He said, "I learned when I worked as a surveyor that a compass will point you true north from where you are standing, but it has no advice about the swamps, deserts, and chasms that you'll encounter along the way. If in pursuit of your destination, you plunge ahead while ignoring obstacles to achieve nothing more than to sink in a swamp, then what's the use of knowing true north?" What does this have to do with the small business community? I'm sure you're asking. The compass is a tool to guide you toward achieving your goals, similar to how this summit is structured to guide you toward accessing opportunities. But there are other factors. There may be obstacles to overcome as you try to reach your business goals. Such obstacles may derive from such thing as a bureaucratic system, political maneuvering, gender bias, racial prejudice. If you ignore this reality and try to trudge ahead believing rose-tinted goggles actually make life full of thorn-free roses, then you're likely not to reach your goal. If you anticipate and accept the fact that there are obstacles you'll need to overcome, expected and unexpected, yet you remain determined and strategic in your effort to move forward, then you have a better chance of success. A part of accessing opportunities is strategic planning and perseverance. It's important to gain knowledge and gather data about the opportunities you want to pursue. It's important also to analyze the particulars of the data to ensure that you know what it takes to reach your goal. And in my humble opinion, it's also important to maintain your integrity despite the obstacles and to remain confident that you're equipped with God-given abilities to be successful. Last thing I want to say about this is ask questions. And this was referred to earlier. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Next slide, please. Again, I work in the Contract Compliance Office of the SFMTA. Our role in CCO when it comes to small business opportunities is really twofold, both of which are dependent upon the funding source. On the one hand, when it comes to local funding, CCO is responsible for implementing the Contract Monitoring Division's LBE program for the agency, which is codified, as has been stated a number of times, in Section 14B of the San Francisco Administrative Code. We also help to enforce equal benefits and non-discrimination rules also contained in the admin code. On the other hand, when the funding source includes monies provided by the Federal Transit Administration or federal dollars, we're responsible for implementing mandated small business opportunity programs such as the SBE program and the DBE program. Next slide, please. What is an LBE, SBE, and DBE? I really don't need to say this because you already know a local business enterprise is a for-profit San Francisco-based small business certified in accordance with the SF Administrative Code, which will be discussed in much more detail by others in this summit. A small business enterprise, it's a for-profit small business with 3-year average gross revenues that do not exceed certain thresholds, and it's certified under California's Small Business Program. A disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, is a for-profit small business that is at least 51% owned, managed, and controlled by historically disadvantaged individuals, which presumptively include, but is not necessarily limited to, women and African Americans. And to become a DBE, you must be certified under the California Unified Certification Program, or otherwise called Federal DBE Program. Now, the aim of the DBE program, as identified in the Code of Federal Regulations, include ensuring non-discrimination in Department of Transportation assisted contracts, creating a level playing field for DBEs to compete for contracts and to remove barriers, ensuring the DBE program is narrowly tailored to comply with the law, ensuring only firms who meet eligibility criteria participate, and to promote the use of DBEs in federally funded contracts. Now, when it comes to implementing the city's LBE program within MTA, our office must do so with gender and race neutrality, which means we must set goals for local small businesses without regard to the business owner's race and/or gender. However, and as I've sort of indicated, with the federally funded projects, we are allowed to implement and enforce measures that will facilitate a level playing field or help reduce barriers when it comes to small business opportunities. So on some level, affirmative action principles apply. The SFMTA DBE program in particular is run with race and gender conscious goals. Or put another way, due to identified disparities, it became necessary to implement goals that give African Americans and women enhanced opportunities to compete. So depending on the project, CCO may be compelled by federal regulation to include subcontracting goals that will enable qualified women-owned small businesses and/or African-American owned small businesses to participate on projects. Again, the objective is to help qualified, historically disadvantaged small businesses have an opportunity they might not otherwise have. Hence, level the playing field, reduce barriers. So for example, let's say there's a $1 million construction project in which federal dollars are included. Depending on the particulars of that project, along with the availability of ready, willing, and able firms, our office might set a 5% African-American and/or woman-owned small business DBE goal, which could mean that $50,000 or 5% will go to such firms to perform a particular scope or scopes of work on the project. Now, it's common that on federally funded SFMTA construction projects, there are both SBE and DBE goals set. In order to take advantage of the LBE, SBE, and/or DBE programs, you should be certified. There's a process for being certified as an LBE. Again, that's going to be touched upon a little later. But you can also get information from the website that's listed for you there. The same applies to the California SBE certification program, which is, again, constructed under the California Department of General Services. And for more details, the website, again, is available to you here. And lastly, you can access the website for the DBE program. If you need help with that program, again, you can access the website, but you can also reach out to our office, likely speaking to me directly regarding how you might become a DBE if you have questions. And for prime contractors, to the extent that they may need technical assistance to ensure that they comply with SBE DBE goals, our office may be available to provide assistance on an as-needed basis. Next slide, please. Finally, I'm just coming to some ways to identify opportunities, and some of these have already been laid out. Accessing the SF City Partner website, SF City Partner, sfgov.org, to get a list of different opportunities throughout the city, including SFMTA. SFMTA is also part of the Bay Area's Business Outreach Committee, which frequently lists opportunities in the transportation community Bay Area wide. We also hold events such as Meet the Primes, which gives subcontractors a chance to network with prime contractors and vice versa. Finally, if you know of a particular project within SFMTA that you may be interested in, you can also feel free to reach out to the contract administrator of that project, and they may be able to provide you with more details. I also want to point out that we have supports. I think it was mentioned, I believe it was by Kimberly earlier. We have supports in terms of helping you to obtain bonding, to fulfill bonding requirements. So that's also is available in terms of helping you to access information. Next slide, please. And for this final slide, it just lists a number of the different opportunities that are currently available or will be available that you might want to look into. As needed environmental and transportation engineering / analysis services, substance abuse program monitoring, SFMTA patrol yard modernization project, which is a big project. We also have El Tervo improvement project, as well as San Francisco parking garage. Again, that project is actually in scope stages. So we'll be moving forward with that, hopefully relatively soon. And there's an opportunity that you might want to look into as well. And that's all the time that I have. And thank you again for your attention.
Thank you so much, Todd. We appreciate your whole presentation, but really appreciate you taking the time to share with us how the SFMTA is incorporating an equity lens into your contracting work. So thanks for that. Our next speaker is Lisha Langlois, who works within the Infrastructure Resource Management Division of the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. So welcome, Lisha.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you guys all for coming today. And my name is Lisha Langlois, and I am here representing the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And in my role currently, I'm the racial equity lead for my division of infrastructure, and I'm the departmental liaison. So I am here today to give you guys a couple of highlights on our contracting opportunities and resources that you guys can use in your everyday business journey. Too bad we couldn't meet in person, but maybe next year. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's move to the next slide, please. Here's a little about what we do. We are the SFPUC. We're a dedicated team to our neighbors who support you with all of your essential services of water, power, and sewer management, from the High Sierras to the East Bay and down to the San Francisco Peninsula. Next slide, please. Our mission is to provide our customers with high quality, efficient, and effective, reliable water, power, and sewer services in a manner that is inclusive of our environment and community interests and sustains the resources entrusted in our care to you. We have 2,300 employees working in the 7 counties to provide you 24/7 essential utility services. Next slide, please. Now to get to the nitty gritty of why you guys are all here. We have 3 types of contracting areas, which we provide services in, which are commodities and general services, construction contracts, and last but not least, professional services. In the following slides, I will be explaining to you what each type is and giving you some resources on how to find them later when this summit is over. Next slide, please. We have the general services and commodities contracts, which are used citywide terms of contracts, which are delegated to the departments for spending for goods and supplies below $10,000. And these contracts are through the Office of Contract Administration, OCA. The website is below, but you guys will be receiving a copy of the presentation, so no need to, try to copy this down very quickly. Next slide, please. Now we have the construction contracts. So we have typical contracts, which are in our sewer system improvement program, water infrastructure improvement program, project-specific construction, and elevator maintenance repair. So we also deal with a few types of procurement, which are design, bid, build, design, build, job order contracts, or JOC, and the construction manager in general contractor CMGC type contracts. Next slide, please. So here is the website again. We will be providing this presentation to you, but this is where you guys need to get out, meet and greet, go to matchmaking events, and even go to our Contracting Assistance Center in order to build networking and future tense relationships that you can use in order to, work within our contracts, as you guys are all small businesses. And typically it's kind of hard to bid on our contracts. So it's easier if you partner and become a sub of someone's, initial contract. And then it's easier for you guys to be able to get some work going. Next slide, please. Now we have professional services contracts. So we have construction related and non-construction related. And so there's construction management, there's design engineering, architectural design, technical as needed services, as needed engineering support services. Then there's branding and graphics, communications and outreach, financial advisory services, power scheduling coordination and related services, and legislative representation and advocacy services. Next slide, please. Again, here's the website for our current professional services contracts. Next slide, please. So as listed before, we have a great resource of the Contracting Assistance Center. This is a free resource for individual small firms to use to get technical support, classroom trainings. We have a plan room, and then we have information on the different city types of programs, and we also host networking opportunities as well. Next slide, please. So here's the contact information. Currently, our Contracting Assistance Center is not open, but if you call or email ahead of time, someone will be able to answer your questions and get you a quick, fast response. Next slide, please. Also, here's our Contracts Administration Bureau's email address, and you guys can contact them if you have any questions regarding the different types of contracts that we have. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for giving the PUC the opportunity in order to be here today. I'm going to turn it back over to Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisha. We really appreciate you outlining all of the opportunities with the PUC. It looks like you have so much going on. So thank you. And now we're going to turn over to our last speaker before we get into Q&A for all of our panelists. And our speaker will be Alex Burns. So Alex is the Contract Administration Manager for the San Francisco Department of Public Works. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sticking around to the end at this last presentation. I'd also like to thank my colleagues who went before me and outlined lots of great ways in which to get involved. So what I'm going to do here is go through a little bit about public works and then some of our upcoming opportunities. Next slide, please. So a little bit about public works was created in 1900 with the original purpose of being with bureaus of streets, lighting, building, and light and water services. Currently, public works designs, builds, maintains, and improves the city's infrastructure to keep San Francisco beautiful, safe, and sustainable for residents, merchants, and visitors. Currently, Public Works oversees more than $2.6 billion in construction projects across the city of San Francisco that are either being designed, managed, and or built. We expect that number to increase as we have a high volume of projects, small and large, coming up in the near future. Next slide, please. So Public Works encourages LBEs to participate on all contracts in which have an LBE goal. An example of a way in which we do this is we start with a benchmark of 25% on our street improvement projects. Generally, the LBE goal is set based on availability of LBEs, but in Public Works, we want to try to keep that goal high to get local participation in all our projects that allow it with local funding. One way in which we notify to ensure that it's broadly sent out is we post on the Small Business Exchange. We also send notifications for construction projects to minority business development agencies, building exchanges, and plan rooms. Next slide, please. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Public Works and get involved, our website is www.sfpublicworks.org. If you click the projects button, you can see a list of projects that are currently in process and currently being designed, built, etc. By looking at that, it'll probably give you a good understanding of what scopes could be upcoming on Public Works projects and assist you in identifying scopes of projects that you may be interested in the future. Additionally, there's many other services outlined on this website and a contact. So we encourage everyone to go to our website and try out all the different features and follow up with any questions related to any Public Works items. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to go over here are our upcoming opportunities for businesses in San Francisco and beyond. The first list is going to be construction projects. And we have a couple various location project and sewer replacement, Golden Gate Avenue, Laguna Street, pavement renovation, and some of the other ones. The projects here are going to be street resurfacing and street sewer repair projects. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of projects that we expect to advertise in the near future with an estimated advertisement date for these projects. Next slide, please. So that would complete our street resurfacing and street sewer combined projects. I just wanted to note, this is not a complete list. All subject is subject to change. And check out our website and the citywide website that was outlined in some of the previous presentations for final details on bid advertisements. Next slide, please. So this next set of projects is going to be streetscapes and other infrastructure improvements. Minnesota Streetscape Project, Better Market Street, Phase 1, expected in the next month. We have some new traffic signal projects at the beginning of next year, and Folsom Streetscape Project, among others. Next slide, please. Yeah, some additional projects coming up, more on the building side of the house. The Castro Station elevator. We have a Mission Branch library. I know I don't want to go over every single project that's upcoming, but as this presentation will be sent out, you can go through it and look for any projects that you think you may be interested that are coming up in the near future. Finally, at the bottom there, we have a Hazmat project for as-needed hazmat contracting that is due later this month. So any hazmat firms, we strongly request that you submit against that project. Next slide, please. So some of the upcoming as-needed professional service pools that we'll be putting out fall under specifications writing, which is currently advertised, due tomorrow. We have some civil engineering pool coming up, waterproofing, infrastructure engineering, structural engineering, pavement condition, and geotechnical engineering. Expect to get all these advertisements out this year. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested in joining an as-needed pool for those scopes of services. Next slide, please. And finally, we have our as-needed construction services RFQs. These are generally continuous, also as-needed pools in which the projects will be bid out to a set of contractors who have been deemed qualified. We have curb ramp construction, electrical services, roofing services, and then we've outlined what license is required to be considered when submitting against these pools. Next slide, please. So just again, as there's lots of projects going through Public Works, we recommend you check the website to ensure if there's any projects that you would like to submit against. As a note, since a lot of the projects vary in their, as was brought up in some of the previous presentations, depending on their funding or other aspects of the project or scope, they'll have specific requirements. So we strongly recommend you read the project manuals that'll accompany each advertisement and understand the entire project before submitting. One note that Public Works would like to give is there's been some new requirements that we'd like you to keep an eye out for. One, all construction projects, this is for all city construction projects, now have an updated safety requirement. So you can find that within the project manual. And also Public Works projects also are now, depending on funding, subject to a project labor agreement. So we strongly recommend you read through those project manuals and review the list of requirements for each specific project to ensure it's a project that you're interested in. And next slide, please. So if there's any questions, please feel free to contact us at contractadmin.staff@sfdpw.org. And as mentioned earlier, we strongly hope that you will go to our website and look around. An example, if you're interested, is lots of volunteer opportunities within the various communities on there that you can sign up for, and among other things. So thank you, and that concludes Public Works.
Great, thank you, Alex. And to all of the representatives from the various agencies for your informative presentations. We're going to shift gears and get into our audience Q&A now. As you've been presenting, we have a few questions that have flowed in from the audience, but also a reminder to everyone in attendance that you can please send your questions to cityadmin.events@sfgov.org, and we'll get to as many as we can. But let me kick off here with just a few questions. First one is for Kimberly with SFO. For the airport, you mentioned that there's security access requirements. How much lead time do you suggest incorporating into our schedules if we are a new contractor trying to get that security access?
1 month. I suggest at minimum 1 month.
1 month. Okay.
That is at minimum. At the point at which you know that you have the contract with SFO, work with the contract manager or the project manager and ask them for guidance. But I would definitely say give yourself at least 1 month. And if you are a construction contractor, I would say make sure that you overstaff, at least in your mind and on paper, for the project. Because guess what? It takes time to get fingerprinted and badged. And if you do not have sufficient staff badged and ready to go, you may have challenges. So again, give yourself at least 1 month. And if it is emergency contract, there are some expedited processes that occur. But again, speak with the contract manager, speak with the project manager, but give yourself at least a month.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
Next question is directed towards the port, MTA, and SFO, but anyone can feel free to chime in if it's relevant. So for those departments and for anyone else, do you anticipate a bump in funding and projects if the federal infrastructure bill passes?
So this is Kimberly with SFO. The infrastructure bill, what's great about the federal infrastructure bill is that there are social services, there are actual hardcore infrastructure like streets and roads and bridges and airports. And then there are other infrastructure things, social infrastructure things related to what makes the country operate. So obviously, there will, yes, be an infusion of cash. What that means for each department will vary. And as Todd indicated, and as, I don't know if it was this presentation or the previous, forgive me, you guys, the funding source will determine the type of contracting goals tied to the project. So if it is federally funded, there will be federal goals attached to it. So, the idea is that, yes, there will be more funds. Who gets what is yet to be determined. I know at SFO, we have to apply for some of these grant funds, and some of the funds that we are actually getting are just for rent relief for our airport concessions. So it's not to fund projects, some of the infrastructure bill funds. So it just depends on how the legislation is written and who gets to put forth projects. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to that.
This is Stephanie from the port. Indeed, as Kimberly expressed, we need to see kind of what it looks like to know exactly how it will all end up kind of flowing and what projects will end up getting done. So stay tuned. And once we have a better sense, we will definitely be putting out the opportunities as we have them. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Kimberly. Next question would be for Lisha with the PUC, particularly with regard to the Contractors Assistance Center that you mentioned. The question is, does the Contract Assistance Center have a mailing list that we can be added to in order to receive regular information on the upcoming offerings and events?
Yes, we do. So if you contact acp@sfwater.org, you can just let them know that you want to be on the mailing list, and we will send you updated information on the events that we are going to be having at the Contractor Assistance Center or virtually online.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisha. And I think this looks like the last question that we have for the day, which is exciting. We'll be able to end a little bit early. But this question is really open for anyone. And I think a couple of you have mentioned so far Meet the Prime events that you have available. And so it's just an opportunity for anyone to chime in. The question is, a lot of these larger capital projects are out of reach for my firm. They're a small business, but I imagine starting as a subcontractor on some of them could work. Do any of your departments hold networking events where smaller businesses can get introduced to primes?
Yes, indeed, we do. There is one coming up at SFO in November. You can check our website, flysfo.com/small-business, and you can learn about an upcoming meet and greet. There is also what's called the Business Outreach Committee, Bay Area Business Outreach Committee, that is having a meet and greet. And there are other meet and greet opportunities that occur. And it's a great opportunity to meet primes who can help you participate with them on City and County of San Francisco projects, as well as other projects.
Right, and to add to that as well, which was mentioned in a lot of presentations, the SF opportunities that include all the city projects. Primes often will post notices there of which they are looking for LBEs in certain scopes. So click on those projects and you may be able to find a prime who is looking for a subcontractor in a scope that you may be, and they'll leave their contact information and you can reach out to them.
Thanks, Sean, for that tip. Any other speakers want to chime in on this one?
This is Stephanie. I would recommend that a lot of the departments through these various events will know who are frequent bidders as primes, but then also there's many wonderful technical service providers. For example, the Northern California Procurement Technical Assistance Center, the NorCal PTAC, which works in a lot of government funding, and they provide free technical assistance. There's the SBDCs. There's a lot of great organizations you can go to kind of map out who might be good people for you to connect with. So I really do your kind of targeted networking, and that you're meeting people that really are likely to have opportunities, or come to port office hours and we can have a one-on-one conversation and figure out what might be a good mapping of primes to your business. Thanks.
This is Romulus. We also have a number of our prime contractors that are very familiar with LBEs and our program, and are willing to sit down with them and at least meet with them. Some of them that come to mind include NIBI Builders, Cahill, Webcor, Pankow, Swinnerton, and Clark Construction. Some, for example, Turner and Clark actually have contractor trainings that provide valuable information for our LBEs and other small businesses from around the area to participate in. Most of them are, I believe all of them are free of charge, and that allows you to develop a relationship with those specific larger contractors.
That's great. And I'll just add on, this is Nicole, I'll add on to what Romulus mentioned, that actually we have a few of these primes who will be presenting a session tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. So we'll have NIBI, Swinnerton, and then also West Yost on the professional services side to be able to talk about how to engage with them as subcontractors, and just generally advice for smaller businesses that are looking to grow towards opportunities with the city. Anyone else want to chime in on support for smaller businesses looking to subcontract, and if not, we'll close it here. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, with that, I think I want to thank all of our speakers. Thank you, Romulus, Stephanie, Kimberly, Sean, Todd, Lisha, and Alex for taking the time to join us today and to share this bounty of opportunities with our audience.